Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we come before you today, we are thankful for the ability to meet. We are thankful for all the blessings you bestow upon us. And we are thankful to serve the good people of Levy County. We ask for your guidance and your wisdom as we make decisions that affect so many lives and so many people connected with the Levy County school system. We ask that you put our bodies and our minds to better use for you and guide us in every step of our life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hogan, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I would like to take this time to welcome all of our special guests, our two guests today. And now is the time for public comment, so the podium is all yours if you'd wish to say something.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to come and speak with you today. My name is Rodney Long. I am a candidate for the newly created Senate District 9 seat, which represents Levy, Alachua, and Marion County. I appreciate you coming to allow me to come. I am going around to all of the local governments in all three of these counties to introduce myself in hopes that you'll know who I am, and also to share a little bit about myself, and also to hear from residents and also elected officials. A little bit about me. I am a long-term resident of Alachua County. I am married to my lovely wife of 35 years, Carol Long. We have 5 adult children. 3 of them are natural, 2 of them are adopted. We have 11 grandchildren. We have 1 great-grandchild, and 1 great-grandchild that's on the way. So we have a very, very big, lovely family. I was educated there. I attended Santa Fe College, University of Florida, Howard University, and also a Dulam Bible College. We have 2 for-profit businesses and 2 not-for-profit businesses in Gainesville. A little bit about my elected office experience. I've had the opportunity to be elected on 2 occasions to local office in Gainesville and Alachua County. I served on the Gainesville City Commission. I served 1 term as mayor. I was elected 3 terms to the Alachua County Commission, serving 2 terms as chair of the board. I had the pleasure to be elected by the Florida Association of Counties, my colleagues, to serve as president of the Florida Association of Counties for 2 terms. Also, I served on the National Association of Counties board, and I was selected in 2011 to visit the White House with President Obama to represent counties. So I have a lot of local elected office experience. One of my major issues that I'm running on is to push back on local home rule government. State legislation, I'm sure you all know, one of the things that they do is they believe that local government, because, at least according to my opponent, local government, because Florida is a state that has sovereignty, local government has no authority. I don't believe that. I don't believe that because I believe that government closer to the people are local. And people who elect you locally know that you are their representative. So as your next state senator, when I go to Tallahassee, I'm going to oppose any legislation that preempts local governments. I'm also going to push back on any mandates that the state legislature try to impose on local governments, and any cost shifts as well. I said to you earlier, I have a not-for-profit organization, and it's called the Martin Luther King Jr. Commission of Florida. One of our goals is education. We've given out over $500,000 in scholarships to local kids. That's my commitment to education. Also, Florida is supposed to be committed to education because it says in the Constitution that education is paramount. Unfortunately for Florida, we rank 45th in the nation when it comes to funding for public schools. We're at the bottom percentile. We're down there with states like West Virginia, Arkansas, Mississippi. So what I like to do when I go to Tallahassee, I have a goal in mind. I like to move us to the top 10 percentile when it comes to funding in education. Not only for students, but I think it's time to move our teachers also up to the top 10 percentile. Finally, I appreciate the fact that people here have told me clearly that they do not want a toll road in Levy County. Now, there is a pause right now on the toll road, but that pause is temporary. And once the elections are over, that's going to resume. But if I'm elected your next state senator, I will oppose any toll roads that comes through Levy County. With that in mind, I thank you very much for allowing me to come. I appreciate the fact that you've given me this time, and I would love to have your support. And I want to leave you with my personal cell phone number. So if you want to call me, by all means call me, because I love to hear from you. That number is 352-494-6099. Again, that's 352-494-6099. So I thank you very much for allowing me to have a few moments, and I hope to come back and see you again in the very near future.
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Long. We appreciate you coming today. Thank you. Ms. Tina, you're up.
It's not easy to follow Rodney Long. My name is Tina Pinkison. I am the Director of Leadership Services for the Florida School Boards Association, and it is my pleasure to be here with my friends in Levy County. I was here earlier this year, I think, or last year, time flies when you're having fun, to present the Master Board plaque to this leadership team. I do want to say, Brad, publicly that FSBA will miss you. We appreciate your service to the students of Levy County, not Alachua, Levy County, and you will be missed. And thank you very much for your help in so many things that you've helped us legislatively. I know you stepped in and helped a lot there, so thank you very much. But today I'm here because I am presenting Tammy Boyle with her certified board member plaque. She has gone through 96 grueling hours of professional development. She has done so with the true, she wants to learn. You can just tell that she is there and she wants to learn. I knew she was going to be a bear when she started. We did our first virtual conference online, and there was a part of this virtual conference where you could log in and see the sponsors and get points and win a scholarship for students. And this was right after she was elected in November. It was in December, and the woman was on fire, and she went and won that for the scholarship for a student here in Levy County. But she is willing to learn, wanting to know more and more, and has a heart for service. And so it is my pleasure to have Tammy join Paige Brookins as a certified board member. She has earned her 96 points, and they have to, in order to be renewed, they have to get 15 points every year. And I'm waiting for Cameron to join.
Wow, appreciate it.
I'm
not as smart as they are.
We can get Ashley there, but it is my true pleasure to present this to Miss Tammy Boyle. All right, we have a photo op. Thank you. Will you send me a copy of the picture? Because I have to tweet it. Thank you. And here is your pen.
Yes.
And I noticed right here, it's Thomas Kennedy. They have Kennedy Thomas. If you want me, I'll get it in. I just noticed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Eastman?
Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
In front of you is a resolution 23-03. This is regarding the purchase of White Fleet vehicles. We would normally purchase all our vehicles through a state contract or the sheriff's bid contract, but we're being told there's a 1.5 year wait time on those vehicles from even a production date time frame. We've actually ordered a vehicle last November, and we still do not have a production date on that vehicle as of right now. We're asking because the policy that we have, anything that's over $50,000, not for one vehicle in particular, but for multiple, because we're needing multiple vehicles, it would rise over that threshold of $50,000 for a bid. And what we're asking is to be able to go and have a budget of $275,000 to be able to go get a vehicle when we find one, not to have to go through the bid, because we're not able to turn that around in a timely manner to be able to get those vehicles when we need them like that. And in doing so, we would submit a bid packet to y'all, or a packet of any vehicle we bought with the year, the make, the model, the purchase price, the department, the school for which the purchase was made, and the vendor where the vehicle was purchased and the date. And at any time, if y'all see that you're not liking what we're doing, you can cancel it at any time.
Can I ask a question about the White Fleet? We did away with our 15 passenger vans and went to the smaller vans a few years back, but do we have intentions of going back to the larger vans?
There's a state law that prohibits us from having more than 6 students on the van.
But we could put 70 in a bus.
That's correct. The bus isn't inclined to turn over the way those vans are. It's a
Just-
rollover issue.
They're pretty ineffective. By the time you put a person in 5, I mean, it's very inefficient, the small vans. I just wanted, but I understand.
We are,
Mr. Etheridge was also inquired about like our local transit vans or
Yes.
buses.
Yes.
Those are, we're unable to use those also, so,
We can't use it like a mini bus.
no, sir. So,
and we're only
It's a
asking,
minibus, just not the transit van. If it's a A-style bus, then it can legally be used.
and what we're asking today is just for this year. We're also looking into a leasing program with the White Fleet, and farther down the road, when we look into that, may have a presentation to do with that and let y'all look at that.
And do you have a place where you found some now that you need to
We've
acquire?
looked at some, and we're trying to find them, but until we got this approved, we would have to just call around and find out and do our research and get them on as a vendor,
so
find the best deal.
I reached out to FADS and had them poll other superintendents, and that's where this resolution came directly from Osceola County because they've had the same issue. This is an issue that's facing a lot of our districts. We obviously have really good transportation crew that have kept our vehicles running for way past probably some of their lifespans, and then some of those vehicles have passed on to maintenance and different places like that. So, but you know, we've had a few issues where we did have a tragic bus wreck. So, but also then we had an accident where we had a maintenance vehicle that was put out of service. So because of that, so and I do want to state on the record to make sure so that this $275,000 is not for a single vehicle. So it's for multiple. And it might have been just my ears. So, but I wanted to make sure that was clearly so. We will definitely be being frugal where. What we may end up is where we're comparing, you know, a Ford against a Chevy against a Toyota. So, and when we're going out and looking at what's on a lot, so.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Eastman,
Eastman.
you said that if you purchase a vehicle, we get the report and the list and all that, right?
I'll have a packet for y'all anytime we purchase one that I'll put on the consent agenda for all of y'all to view to what we purchased and all the year, the make, the model. And I'll probably put some references in there for some other vehicles we looked at too that we were not.
As a
able to get.
comparison?
Yes,
Information purposes only, though, 'cause it's a done deal.
Because it's done, so you can't
correct.
go back. Okay.
Do I hear a motion?
I move resolution number 23-03.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Eastman.
Now that you're an old married man, you seem so much serious.
Bye, Tina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're just like, right to the point, you know, there was no, changed it.
Just to back up to your point, Mr. Etheridge, the one-ton A-style bus, school bus is available. My experience is they don't cost a lot less and they get about the same fuel economy and you're limited by the capacity. But I am open to purchasing those if that's the desire. I would like to just throw out a couple of facts about our bus fleet. We're running 50 buses every day, and we run around 3,500 miles before the sun comes up or shortly thereafter with those buses. We don't have just an average everyday fleet. We have 22 buses that have a Mercedes-Benz engine in them. And they're getting old. As you know, we've built 2 schools, finishing the second, and during that time frame, your ability to purchase buses is very limited. So we're in need of buses. Every day we're running a 03 bus on the route and a couple of 04 buses. We have about half of our fleet air conditioned, which is a blessing. Everyone seems to want the air conditioning. So I'll answer questions about the bus fleet at the end of the presentation if you have questions at that time. I'd like to move on to the agenda item, which is the grant for electric school buses. Now, I'll admit on the face of the subject, it's a little bit shocking to think about purchasing electric buses. But through this grant, which comes through EPA, the funding would make zero cost for those buses. It would include the charging infrastructure for those buses. So the bus itself would have a $375,000 funding opportunity for the 77 passenger bus, which is what we would be looking for. And the actual cost of the bus would be about $10,000 less than that. So we would be looking at purchasing the same thing that most of our fleet is, a Thomas bus, again a 77 passenger bus. The charging system, the slow charging system, which is AC current use, cost about $7,000 and about $10,000 to install. And there's $20,000 in funding for the charging unit for each bus. There's 3 criteria for being at the top tier of this grant. We are in the top tier. One is that you have students 20% or more in poverty, which we meet. The second is that you're a rural district, and as you know, we're the 9th largest district in the state by land area. So we're rural. And the third criteria is tribal. I thought about Chiefland and the Indians, but it didn't work. So, but we meet 2 of the criteria, and we're in the top tier for funding. We could purchase up to 25 buses. Elected to fill out the grant for 5 buses. We can see how 5 buses do. Technically, this is an application to see if they will fund us. We're eligible for funding, and they will notify us before October 1 if we actually receive the funding. They may grant the entire amount, which in my opinion would be very worthy of consideration. Anything less than full funding, in my opinion, would not be a good use of our funds. The buses under this grant are to be zero emission, which would be the electric bus. Now, our cost would be basically like a generator at your house and building a house for that matter. From the meter, our side, all of that would be our cost. Again, we would be receiving $20,000 per bus for that charging system. From the meter back the other way would have to be paid for by the Rural Electric Cooperative, and they've expressed an interest in doing that. So I think that we have the availability of power and the opportunity for full funding for the bus. and charging system for 5 buses. There is a fast charge system which is considerably more expensive. It's a DC current, above $10,000 for the charger itself, plus installation starting at $4,000. So we might consider 1 fast charge, but the remaining 4 for sure would be the alternating current slow charge that requires 8 hours. Basically from a 0 charge to a full charge. Most of our routes run 35 to 55 miles. The bus will travel on a full charge between 85 and 120 miles. If you use a heater or an air conditioner, it cuts your efficiency by 15%. So even using AC, we could still run most of our routes with these buses. We would make an effort to use the buses on roads that are mostly paved. They say that they're sealed under the bottom and the lime rock wouldn't bother them, but our intention would be mostly to keep them on pavement. 20% of Americans use rural electric cooperatives, and 70% of Americans, 70% of the nation is under rural electrification. I think it's a plus for us that they're willing to work with us because there's a substantial commitment to power. I think they would have to run some new lines. And there's a switch that has to go on their side, so it's a plus that they're willing to work with us on that. If you in the future see the initials EV, you'll know that that is electric vehicle, and one of the stated intentions of the grant is to move electric vehicles to the mainstream. There is, and why the emphasis on electric vehicles? They say the administration, I assume that's national, has an interest in reducing the carbon footprint of transportation in general. So just to restate, the grant would provide $375,000 per bus and $20,000 per charging system. Further questions?
Mr. Masters, it's so $375 per bus, but a regular bus would be $45,000, correct? No?
No.
Okay, I was just looking at the...
A traditional diesel bus right now is running about $125,000. The electric bus runs about $365,000. So right now, about $10,000 less than what the grant offers. And we know that prices are going up. Do you have other questions?
They send us 5 buses. Do we have any means of tools to work on them? Do we have the knowledge to work on them? Is there warranties on them? How often the batteries have to be replaced?
The batteries usually last 13 to 15 years. They have an 8-year warranty on the batteries. To be blunt, we would not exceed that 8 years. Then you're in trouble. The new battery itself is $100,000. So we would only keep the buses while they were under warranty. We have to, under the grant, keep the buses 5 years, but everything would still be warranted in 5 years. I would certainly not intend to keep the electric buses past warranty.
Did they extend the period of submitting the grant, the deadline?
No, it was due on the 19th of August, which was last Friday, and I submitted it Monday before.
Yes.
I had some good help from Miss Whitney on getting that in. Any other questions?
So, and in 5 years, we just sell, or 8 years, we just sell them? Is that what we would do at the end of 8 years?
That would be my intention. If they served us well, we might think about trading them in on other electric buses because we have the charging systems. But if they didn't serve us well, then we would trade them in on diesel buses again.
They'll be in my package yet, all award numbers.
How many
Yes,
buses do we have
better.
on order right now?
We have 3 buses that are due within the semester. We should receive them within the semester. And our intention is to purchase 5 more diesel buses this year, giving us, this grant is a 2-year grant, so you phase it in, get the infrastructure in place. We wouldn't receive the buses this year, it would be early next year when they were received. So there have been several years when we've purchased 10 buses. In '04, we purchased 10 buses. In '08, we purchased 10 buses. And the last 3 or 4 years, we've purchased 5 or less, mostly less.
Ms. Boyle.
Would we have to come up with any funds out of pocket before the grant money was released?
This seems to be according to the grant up front. It's not pay for it and then reimburse. It's supposed to be up front. When we place the order for the buses in October, then they start the process of funding coming back to us when the buses are received.
In October, what's the date? Again, October?
Of 22.
Right, that they would say yes or no to the grant?
Actually, it's the last week of September that they're going to notify us. And then we place the order for the buses if the board approves in October.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Mr. Masters, this has nothing to do with, we appreciate Levy County, any money given to us federally. I just have, here's my question. When you have a need for buses, do you ever have to jump through hoops, Ms. Lake, for funding to get just the regular school bus?
It's highly dependent upon if we're building a school or not. If our capital dollars are available, and the 10 bus error, I believe we used to be, what, 2 mil at one point, we're at 1.5 mil, so there's no 10 bus error to be had, even if we weren't building a school. But it's the building of these schools and building them so close that sort of limits our ability to purchase the buses, but we should be purchasing 5 to 7 at least every year if we can afford it.
Okay. In a perfect world, I'm all for clean air, climate. I'm that person. It's just maddening to me that we can get $500 million in federal funding for this when we have such a teacher shortage and our teacher salaries are suffering so much. That is my big rub. Nothing to do. I'm appreciative. Where's the microphone? Thank you. But it's a big issue for me.
I would never bring a recommendation for electric buses to the board except they're free.
We're in a tight.
If they're being given away and we can afford to buy 5 and they give us 5, there's the 10 buses.
They're given away for free if they're electric, but we have to beg, borrow, and steal for the $200,000 less diesel bus.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's almost like they want you to do something.
Is there a necessary training that,
The mechanics
The
would go
mechanics.
through some training. Certainly, the first thing you see when you tilt the hood up is danger, high voltage. So they would not be messing with any of the high voltage components, but all of the suspension and so forth would be very much like the existing buses. But they would receive training for those buses, yes.
is that included in the grant funding?
Not included in the grant.
But they drive like a regular bus
Most,
for the most part.
I've heard a figure, I want to say it was 70%, but I'm not positive, don't quote me. Something like 70% of the bus is identical to the regular bus.
And so a slow charge takes about 8 hours, fast charge 4 hours?
1.5 to 4, yes.
Okay. and we get, call it 80 miles,
Yeah.
roughly.
So they would come off the morning route, they would go on the charger and be back up to a full charge for the afternoon route. And there's computer management of the charging so that you're charging during off-peak time so that the electrical rate would be a little lower. And the big plan is when there's fleets of buses sitting out there on chargers, if the power goes off, they backfeed into the grid. But I hope they don't backfeed our buses and leave them dead the next morning.
Now what happens, and what happens if hurricane hits and we're several days without electricity at a charging station?
That's no problem since 5 buses is well less than 10% of our fleet. So we would just run
Just go back
spares
to park those and just go on. Okay. And I trust your expertise on the routes. I mean, it's all great to get a Ferrari, but if you can't ever drive it, what's the point? So I'm sure you have good routes picked out.
Yes.
That I wouldn't expect this thing to go through the sand hills of Bronson, Florida, because
Well-
I've always heard that those batteries are real heavy, and it might not work. But out here on the road, I don't see
The batteries are actually completely different to what they've been in the past. They're small cells, individual cells, and if a cell goes out, the computer just bypasses it. But there are 5 routes at Bronson, 5 routes at Chiefland that could easily be used, but it would not work for Williston because we're running double routes there. Go pick up elementary and then go back out and pick up high school.
can't refill quick enough to do that. Okay. I'm like you. I agree with Mr. Masters. I wouldn't bring electric buses, but they're free.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sir?
I've never seen anything that was free.
That comment has, in our meetings, has been brought up several times, and so I've had some preliminary conversations with Denny George when this first came out and watched a webinar on it. DOE, Department of Economic Opportunity, had reached out through our Levy County person, Scott Osteen, who had shared after he had been at Seminole Electric on a meeting here about this grant. So I've had about 4 different people reach out to us, putting this opportunity out there. Today is purely informational for you all, so we will bring back a board item if we are to be awarded. That way you can make a decision whether you want to accept that federal funding or whether you do not. So.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Masters.
Mr. Superintendent?
Yes. On number 8, you will see our school visits that are scheduled. We will begin those in September. What I did is I slid everything up one. So last year we had started at BES, so this year we'll end at BES. So our first school visit will be at Yankeetown on September 27th. So you can be able to lock those into your calendar. So. And once again, just purely informational, so you have that. And so it's been recorded into the minutes and publicly noticed. So we'll be visiting the good works that goes on our campus. So.
Thank you, Mr. Coward. Mr. Lott?
Okay.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Sorry. We do need board approval on the school visit.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say sign. Motion passes.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
Hello, sir.
As we've talked about earlier, this summer has been particularly busy with policy changes, and primarily those changes have occurred out of 4 pieces of legislation that came through. House Bill 1467, which you may be familiar with, that limited school board members to 12-year term, but they also dealt with instructional materials and the process that we have to go through in regard to parent input. And then Senate Bill 2524 primarily dealt with school choice and a lot of new legislation that affected many of our policies on school choice. House Bill 1557 is probably the most famous of the four pieces of legislation, and that is the Parental Rights and Education Bill, which was passed, and then House Bill 1421 dealing with school safety. And so out of those, primarily those four pieces of legislation, we've had, I think, 25 different policies that were impacted. This last batch, if you will, consists primarily of about 15 different policies that we've had to revise and edit in order to be in compliance with that new legislation. You've had a chance to read through these policies, and so at this time, if there's any questions, we can try to answer those.
Number 4.42 is being deleted. Am I reading that right? Because it says delete.
Yes, ma'am.
Next to it on
Yes, ma'am.
line 5.
Yes, sometimes when these policies come to us, and again, these come as model policies that come from NEFAC after looking at the different legislation and then transferring that into our current policies. And so that particular policy, because of the changes that arrived out of House Bill 1467, it actually was just easier to delete that one entirely and rewrite it. If there are no further questions at this time, we would ask for your approval of these policy changes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from August 2nd.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I know you guys have all had a chance to speak to Mr. Cowart regarding the consent agenda. Mr. Asbell, do you have any comment?
No, ma'am, all my questions were answered. I think it's great to see these, for lack of a better term, job opportunities for students. I think that's genius. I like that. I like that.
Ms. Boyle?
All my questions were answered. I would like to ask one question for Mr. Cowart, if I could, just on all the new hires that we have, that they have been vetted through our policy that's in place at 6.0. If you could affirm that for me, that'd be great.
So, yes, ma'am. So Ms. Hire, so in HR does a really good job, so of going through with that policy. Yes, ma'am, and following it.
So you affirm that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All my other questions were answered.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Boyle. Ms. Brookins?
No, I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Etheridge?
Ma'am, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do I hear a vote on the consent agenda?
Motion
Motion, I'm sorry.
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Again, I know you've had a chance to look over the consent agenda regarding the finance items. Do I hear a motion to approve the finance?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Mr. Howard?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, as you know, on Saturday night, so received a phone call from Ms. Wiggins, our new principal at Bronson Elementary, and we had a lightning strike there that created a fire, and out of the good Lord looking after us, so we had a newly hired teacher, Dr. Beckham, who was on campus or arriving on campus and saw the smoke and quickly called and alerted everyone, so right as it had happened. So, but just would like to just thank Ms. Beckham for what she did, but also like to point out within a matter of 35, 40 minutes, so we had all kinds of staff. So Marlene was there, our AP, Kaylee Spina was there, Breezy and Mac were on the scene, and Mr. Lott, so, and along with Stephanie, our head custodian at Bronson Elementary. And I know that there was a major undertaking that took place then on Sunday afternoon to move some of those classrooms out of that kindergarten building. I think it just kind of shows the resiliency of what we want our students and our communities to have and what Levy County is about. It doesn't matter what community. So, and I'm sure Mr. Hasbro will probably talk to that in a little bit, but just wanted to point out at the drop of a hat, so the district level staff that were there on that campus, along with good employees that were there, so that are valued, that above and beyond at 8:30, 8:45 on a Saturday night, were there in a moment's notice. So, and just want to point out, you know, we've got a lot of great employees, but somebody that really goes above and beyond, and always has a smile on his face. So, and just appreciative of him and what he's brought, moving him over from Chief Linnell so to under Brandon, is Alex Gonzalez. So our people see Alex, they see his smiling face when he's delivering in some of the courier, and also he's added some extra tasks to his plate here recently. So just wanted to publicly thank him. So, and we're excited. Volleyball's been going, football's back going. There's a lot of great things that are going on our campuses, and I know we had to deal with some unfortunate things at the beginning of this meeting, but we want to make sure that our teachers and our staff and our students know that we're there to keep them safe, and we will adhere and make sure that any student that does not follow those rules and breaks those rules will be held accountable for their actions. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cowart. Now's the time for board comments. Mr. Asbell?
Don't have a whole lot to say. Mr. Cowart handled it. I think if you've seen it, the lightning strike could have been a whole lot worse had Tasha not been there. And then quick response from everybody headed off what really could have been bad and disruptive to school. And then on Sunday, probably 50 volunteers, many of them were employees and spouses, and all, came out to move those classes around, and got it done in about an hour, 2 hours. Moving, came forward and took something bad and made something good. You know, they figured out what we got to do, and that's what you do. We keep it running, we keep it going, and that was impressive to see so many people step out, and it's really appreciated. I also want to thank Breezy and his crew. They did some work for the school, adding things to the scoreboard at the football field, getting things ready for our football season, and went above and beyond, and it's greatly appreciated. And things are coming together. Things are coming together, and that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Asbell. Ms. Boyle?
Things are going great in Cedar Key. The swim with the Sharks for the Sharks was a big hit. Everybody was...
Did they make it?
They made it. Everyone made it. So I don't know if it'll be an annual thing. But what that community member did is he is putting all those funds that were raised towards the fundraising playground effort that we have going. So I don't have a total yet, but he's giving 100% of it to the playground. A little update there, we are almost to 22,000 raised for the playground equipment, and have some quotes being looked at too, so that the community has done that, which is outstanding. And speaking of that, I don't have the sheet with me, and I can email it to everyone, but Mr. Cowart said I could ask if we wanted to be a sponsor for one of those playgrounds, so there would be a plaque from Levy County School Board. I believe there's a $50, $100, $250, and a $1,000 top level, but I can email that to you, and if you all wanted to do that as a board. Volleyball, football, I'm excited for that, and teachers are excited down there. Wednesday, tomorrow they'll do their training for testing. That's going to happen, long staff meeting, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Boyle. Ms. Brookins?
Just thankful for the fire and that everything was controlled. We got that message from Chris. That was disturbing with a new school and school year. So just thankful for that, and that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Etheridge.
Just a couple of things. I was notified yesterday that our ag department in Williston filed for a grant, and they successfully achieved, I think it's a $100,000 grant, which is tremendous for our an opportunity for, I think, our vet tech program and our animal science department there too, which would give us a leg up. And appreciate Mr. Skipper and those involved in helping make that happen. So, and then I just had a question. I'm still getting some parents and people calling me. We still have some students that don't have Chromebooks out. Do we have Chromebooks for every student that is operable?
All schools have been given Chromebooks in sufficient number to cover their schools. Some of them are in different places in terms of managing what they have.
Okay. So the answer is there is one. Just hang on.
There are enough Chromebooks.
Just hang on.
Yes,
sir. And then other than that, it's good that, I mean, talk about it all summer to get it kicked off, and even with a few hiccups, it's good that school's going again. I know the community falls into their routines whenever we're in school, and when we're out of school, it causes problems. So it's good to be in school. And I'll just say go Red Devils too. It's good to pass that up.
Thank you, Mr. Etheridge. Yankeetown, I don't have a lot to say today either. Yankeetown, minus a couple of incidents, is doing very well starting out the year. I think we're going to have a super great year in Yankeetown. We did start this meeting with 3 very difficult expulsion hearings. And like I said earlier, I'm usually kind of the bleeding heart of the group, and it's just not going to be that way this year. It's a different year. To start off the school year the way Williston did with a couple of incidents is just unacceptable. I think we should go on record to say it's not. I mean, before COVID, we had a teacher shortage. After COVID, I think it's an additional 30% shortage. We have to show our staff, our students, our teachers that they are supported, and that certain behavior is just not going to be tolerated. And I appreciate Mr. Cowart's recommendations this morning, and we're really setting the precedent for the school year. That's all I have. Meeting adjourned.